All right. So thank you for joining us for coaching a game plan for success. Obviously, you have some type of interest in coaching, and so Bonnie and I are excited to help you out in any way that we can and support you in that. So my name is Joni Goodman, and I'm the picture on the left in the blue bonnets in Dripping Springs, Texas. Actually, I'm originally from Indiana, but that was one of the first things I had to do when I moved to Texas was get a picture in the blue bonnets. You know, I know we do that with our children, but I was like a big kid. So I'm actually a biochemist by trade, but I transitioned into training officially in 2004. It was actually always part of my job, even pre-professionally, and I decided I wanted to do it full time. And from a coaching standpoint, I have the ATD's Certified Professional in Talent Development, which one of the certifying areas there is coaching. I also went through CDR Assessment Group's Executive Coaching Program, as well as Inside Out Development's coaching certification. Bonnie?
Well, I'm Bonnie Moore, and thank you all for being here. It's wonderful to be back. Joni and I had the privilege of presenting last year at ATD San Antonio, and we were thrilled to be asked back again this year. My background, I started facilitating when I was 5. I sat my grandparents at a card table and told them exactly what to do and how to do it. And they did a real good job. They paid attention and helped propel me to success. In between being 5 and now, I spent 30 years as a public educator, either at the middle school level or at the central office level, doing facilitation, human resources, and a number of other things. And then when I retired from that, I started my own consulting business, which focuses on leadership development, team dynamics, and HR function along with facilitation. And like Joni, I am certified in the CDR coaching. I am also an ICF professional level certified coach. I'm also certified in cognitive coaching and emotional coaching. So between us, we have a lot of experience that we're here to share with you, but we're also here to become part of your network so that after today, when you get our contact information, if you have questions or want to know information or want to just talk about something, that's part of what we do. So we hope that you'll contact us. The other point I want to say at this point is when we do this session, we were going to be in person and you were going to be working with a partner or a group, and we were going to be looking at nonverbals and a whole lot of other things that are tough to do on Zoom. So we just hope that you'll be flexible with us as we work through this and realize that this is a richer topic beyond a computer screen.
All right, and we have one other person that is a part of our team today that's going to be helping us from a virtual producer standpoint. So Sharon, you want to introduce yourself and go through the Zoom keeping?
Yes, so good afternoon. My name is Sharon Nasser, and I normally, when I'm not doing this, I am an admin for Joni, as well as several other consultants. But since COVID-19 shut things down, my new niche is being a virtual producer. Which I have loved and have rolled with it this whole season so far. So, but a new term that we have coined is Zoom keeping. So I just wanted to point out a few things. I'm sure, hopefully by now, we are all pretty adept at using Zoom, but if not, this is a little tutorial. So at the bottom of your screen, you should see a bar that has many different controls on it. The ones I really want to highlight today, firstly, over on the far left is the mute and unmute button. Now there is a little tip. If you are muted, you can hit the space bar, keep it held down, and it should temporarily unmute yourself so that you can interject something real quick without having to fumble around for your button. Now, lately I've noticed a couple of people it hasn't been working. I'm not sure why, but that is a great tip to keep handy. And speaking of muted, we would like to keep you muted unless you have something to say or we call upon you to share. The next button is the video. We would love to see everyone's faces during this, and we completely understand if you don't want to show your video, but otherwise we would love to see you. We understand that there's coworkers and pets and kids running around the background. Please don't let that distract you from sharing and actually interacting with us today. A couple of other buttons I want to point out is the participant box. We would like you to open that because at the bottom of that is the raise hand function. When you open it, at the very bottom, you should see that, because if you want to ask a question, we might ask you to raise your hand so that we can take people according to the order. The other one is chat. If you can open your chat box, pop it out to the side. If you're having any technical gremlins, either myself or Vanessa will be able to help you with that. So you can privately chat us if you need some help, or we may be asking you to chat in some answers, share some stories, share some experiences in the chat that we will monitor. The other one is the reaction button. Right now you should see at least a hand clap and a thumbs up. We may ask you to use that periodically. If you've updated Zoom in the last couple of weeks, you may see several more reactions there. And then at the top top right of your screen is how you'll be able to change your view to see either the Brady Bunch view or the speaker view, and that's completely up to you. But when we're not sharing a presentation, it might be best to go on to the Brady Bunch view so we can see everything. Also, keep your cell phone handy. We are going to be doing at least one activity that we will ask you to go to a secondary device to participate. And I think that is all for me. I'm looking forward to this time, and enjoy yourself.
Thank you, Sharon. All right, so we wanted to start out with a couple of polls. Bonnie and I shared kind of our experience with coaching, and so we really want to learn more about you as far as your experience with coaching. So Sharon's going to launch a poll in a moment, and you can just respond right on your screen. So we want to know your experience as a coach. Is it never? Is it seldom? Is it occasionally? Is it often?
I no longer have that function. Oh, there
Okay.
it is. Okay.
There it goes. All right. So I see some responses coming in there. We've got 9 of 13 that have voted. All right, we are at 12 of 13. We'll let that one come in. So it looks like the top front runner, Sharon, if you want to go ahead and close it out, is often. That your experience as a coach is often. So excellent. And then followed by that is occasionally and never. So I'm guessing the never folks are probably wanting to learn more about how to do it and have an interest in that. So let's do one more poll. And this one is, my coaching is primarily done as a blank coach. So what type of coach? Business coach, life coach, career, group and team, or is there some other type of coaching that you do? So we'll give you a moment to respond to that poll.
Executive coaching would fall in the business realm.
Thanks, Bonnie. All right, we've got about 6 of 13. Keep those responses coming in. Got one more to come in here. All right, I'm going to give it one more second, and Sharon, I'm going to have you go ahead and close it out. So it looks like the front runner was business coaching. So would love to hear a little bit more about that. If you responded with business coaching, could you share with us in the chat elaborate a little bit more by what you mean by business coaching? And then followed by that is group and team. If you can share with us a little bit more about group and team, and then finally career was also mentioned. That one's pretty self-explanatory, but maybe share with us what type of folks that you work for or work with in doing career coaching. And so Sharon or Vicki, if you wouldn't mind to read off those responses as they come in there. Tell us a little bit more about your coaching. So business coaching, group and team, or career.
I'm sorry about that. I think I messed up. I thought you said to relaunch the poll, so it cleared the.
That's okay. It's no problem. I remember the results.
Oh.
Are we seeing anything in chat yet?
Yes. Let's see. Jessica says, coaching on skills knowledge needed for the next job or career. And Christian shared, I'm a management development coach. I help both managers seeking help to be a better manager and managers that are designated as poor performing.
Okay, great. Anybody else? If it's too much to type in chat, you can also raise your hand and we'll have you come off mute. I know it's kind of a difficult one to elaborate on in chat. Anybody else want to share?
We have a private one. Attending as the manager for coaching services in our organization, attending to get ideas on how to add value to our coaching services program. And then Susan shared she works with leaders coaching around brain-friendly leadership methods.
All right, awesome. So some very cool experience in the group. Thank you all for sharing. All right, so one of the key things that is super important in everything that we do, but especially with coaching, is around communication. And so there are all sorts of forms of communication. And as Bonnie mentioned, you know, if we were going to be in person, we would go more into the body language aspects of things and the nonverbal and that sort of thing. But here, with regard to coaching, so there is telling that we can do if we've got somebody brand new and we need to, they don't have the information and we need to provide that to them. There's telling. There's advising. So with the picture there with the map, you know, working through it together and providing some advice. Always, if it is solicited, if we want to provide some advice, asking permission to do so. I know just this week, I taught a class and we were doing a segment on rewriting your limiting beliefs. And that's a difficult thing to do, right? And so we had folks sharing out, and one of the individuals rewrote her limiting belief, but it was still kind of limiting. It wasn't really a positive connotation. So I asked permission if I could provide her with some feedback on that. So that is kind of moving into the advising and consulting aspect of things. And then there is mentoring as well, and asking. And, you know, the asking thing, Bonnie's going to talk about something that goes right along with that here in just a minute, because when we ask something, there's another key factor that should happen there. And I'm sure many of you are grasping what that is, but I'm not going to steal Bonnie's thunder. She's going to go through that momentarily. And so what the heck is coaching? Coaching is a means to convey or move colleague, individual, person, manager, supervisor, from where he or she is to where they want to be. All right, now, we have to be very careful with that, right? Because to enhance another person's perceptions and decisions and thinking is not just something that instantaneously happens, all right? And we have to be really cautious of doing too much telling and balancing that out. And coaching is also about an opportunity to help another colleague, individual to learn and grow and experience success within themselves. All right. Many times as a coach, we see something before other people do. And we have to be really careful with this. We are there to help support them and for them to have that light bulb aha moment, which I know is difficult for me personally, oftentimes as a coach, because many times we arrive there long before they do. And so why is coaching important? So it's important for personal growth and for the individual. And you can probably see in my background here, my Dare to Lead paraphernalia. So I'm a certified facilitator with Brene Brown and her Dare to Lead program. And one of the things that she shared that was really eye-opening is she has never met a successful leader who has not done coaching and or therapy. All right. So I know I myself have personally benefited from coaching and mentoring because of this, exactly this, the personal growth. It also allows us to enhance our creativity and problem solving, maybe be presented with another way to go about it that we haven't thought about when we do coaching. Continuing learning on how to learn. So there may be some passages in our brain that we don't have those neural pathways open to allow us to be able to learn in that way. And then using our greatest resource, our brains, all right? They have lots of information, the control center, if you will. And so coaching is really important because it allows you to go inward before you actually go outward with things, and to have a safe space to be able to share that with someone where it might be messy, or you might for the first time be saying, I don't know, or I'm not sure how to handle this. And so how do we get started with coaching? Well, first and foremost is to build a relationship, and one that has trust, okay? And so like respect, when we are doing relationship building and trust building, it's not instantaneous, right? It comes over time. And it's really important that we do what we say we're going to do when we enter into a coaching relationship, and that we also hold the other individual accountable as well. It's always good to have a plan and to strategize when you're going to enter into a coaching. Why are you doing it? Why are they doing it? What's the point of this? What's the outcome that we're looking to have here? And it's also really important as a coach to remove your own bias and judgment. All right. It's really important for you to be able to hold space for another individual. That's a judgment-free zone. And did I say ask questions? Oh, wait, I think I said ask, and I think I said ask again. All right. Because when you're receiving information, asking multiple questions, open-ended questions to get more information. Tell me more about that. You know, what I heard you say was this. Can you give me a little more insight into that? Explain to me about that. Where are you coming from when you mention this predicament with a coworker that you're trying to navigate through? And then ultimately is to get a commitment, all right, from the coachee, and for you to have that, to be a win-win for you as a coach to also have your level of commitment. And so Bonnie, I'm going to turn it over to you, and the importance of all that asking that we're doing and those questions and that communication.
Joni, thank you. And the very first thing that you really want to focus on as a good coach is not to ask anything at all. It's not to say anything. It's about listening. A good coach will listen 60% of the time. They will ask questions about 30 to 35% of the time, and they will clarify, paraphrase, and help focus the other 5 to 10%. When you add all that up, that's 100%. That's where it is. You didn't hear me say, well, I've given my advice, or I'm telling, or I'm advising, or I'm mentoring. It's listening, asking, and providing feedback in a way that the person is ready to go. Since listening is such a key component, we wanted to make sure that you were all aware of and use, or hopefully use, all 4 levels, primarily level 3 and level 4. Level 1 is tuned out. If any of you have or had children, nieces, nephews, those types of situations, what I'd like you to do is I'd like you to raise your hand if this experience has ever happened to you. You start to talk to your son, your daughter, your niece, your nephew, could be your spouse, and they are paying no attention to you. You're trying to get their attention. You want them to do something. You want to tell them something important, and they just really are not paying any attention. That means they are tuned out. How many of you have had that experience? Dr. Martinez has, Patricia has, Armando has.
Susan has her thumbs up.
Great. It's the idea that we don't listen. Other people do it to us, and we do it to other people. That's a level of listening that, as a coach, we don't want to do it all. We need to remove all the distractions. Level 2 is passive listening. My husband is a pro at passive listening. He looks at me, he smiles, he nods. He's thinking about other things in the back of his head, or he thinks I'm not noticing his finger moving on the iPad. It's that appearance of listening, but not really listening. All of you have had that experience. In these times with Zoom, it's really hard not to passively listen, because we feel like underneath what you can see, I can be multitasking. I can be doing other things. And so for all I know, and I'm going to believe you're not doing this, all of you are looking at me and smiling at me, but underneath where the screen stops, you're texting, you're typing other things, you're drawing, you're sending notes to your friends. I hope you're not doing that unless you're saying that this is a great session. But it's that idea that we've got to not passively listen. We need to at least be at level 3 to begin to coach. And that's active listening. Really looking at the person, watching their nonverbals, being engaged, removing the distractions. Would someone be willing to come off mute and share with us your experience when someone actively listens to you? How does it make you feel? What does it make you want to do? Is there someone who will come off mute and share? Susan?
I'll share.
Susan and then Patricia. Susan, go ahead.
So I feel when someone actively listens to me, I feel human, I feel important, I feel valued, I feel shocked sometimes because it's so unusual to have somebody truly listen to you. And so the surprise just wakes me up and I can feel alive, and I'm much more open then to listening to somebody else. I feel much more spacious to come up with ideas. It's just an oxytocin bath.
Wonderful. Thank you. Patricia.
Okay, there I am. I agree. It makes me feel valued, but it also makes me feel connected to the point where I can open up more and share more of what's really going on.
Thank you. And when you think about what Susan and Patricia just shared, isn't that what you want from someone you're coaching? You want them to feel human and valued. You want them to be open to ideas, to feel connected so something happens, to build. So active listening is where you really want to be when you're starting your coaching. But as you move further into coaching, we hope you'll go to the fourth and the deepest level of listening, and that's contextual listening. Contextual listening is all about really knowing what that person is. What is their age, their gender, their religion, their job experience, their skills, their knowledge, their culture, their education? When you listen to someone and try to understand all of that and blend that with what happens, then it's easier to truly understand where they're coming from. Joni, if you'll go to the next slide so they can see all of these things. This is basically the bottom of the iceberg. A lot of this we don't normally think about when we are coaching because we see what's on top. We see what's in front of us, either in person or on the Zoom screen. We see the age, we probably see the gender, but we don't see the underneath. And as we listen, if we can listen contextually, it will help us truly understand the person we're coaching, where they're coming from, why they're saying what they're saying, and it will use as to how to move them forward. The next slide will show you some things that you want to think about when we contextually listen. One, we stop talking. Two, you have to show the person you want to truly listen. Notice listen is capitalized. Are your nonverbals showing that? Are the distractions gone? Are the things that you need there? As I said, minimize distractions. Our devices are some of the worst things that we can have in our presence when we coach. Because getting to that phone, getting to that tablet or iPad, doing something else or trying to do something with it will cause a problem. We need to ask questions. When you contextually listen, you need to be patient. Patience means silence. Right now, some of you are getting very uncomfortable. You're going, Bonnie, say something, do something. When you coach, silence is an opportunity for the person you're working with to think. It's a wonderful gift. So be patient. Relish that silence. Put yourself in their shoes. Where have they been before the coaching situation? What's happened to them? That's going to give you a reference of frame of mind. One of the most important things, and Joni already mentioned it, is no judgment. Work hard to remove your own bias. When you're coaching someone and they start talking, oftentimes we want to immediately start formulating our response in our mind. If Joni calls me and says, Bonnie, I've had a really bad day, this happened and this happened, well, I'm already thinking, well, Joni, that's too bad, but this has happened to me, and this has happened to me, and this is how you can fix it. No, stop talking in your head and out loud, and let the person you're coaching talk and try to remove your bias. It's really important that we do that. So some of the ways we do that is we listen to their language. You take all of your cues and direction from the perfect person you're coaching. You listen to their language. Is it positive? Is it negative? Are they using general language or absolutes? Some people, well, you know, it was all about this, or it was just exactly like this. Oh, you know, it was pretty good. Oh, it really wasn't very good. We get the optimist, pessimistic side. We listen for emotion or content. You're going to get both when you coach someone. Understand that you must deal with the emotion first before you can deal with the content. In a past life, I was a middle school principal. I would have parents come in and they were just really, really angry. And they were angry because their child got a C and the teacher wasn't fair and all this happened. Well, after 30 minutes of coaching and we got all the emotion out of the way, their anger wasn't at the teacher. Their disappointment was with their child because their child didn't study. So what they came in talking about as the problem really wasn't the problem, but we had to unpack the emotion first. Do they talk about opportunities, or is everything an obstacle? When you listen to the language, you can then help move them in a positive direction by knowing where they're coming from using this language. Are they talking about past, present, or future? That will tell you, are they stuck in the past? Are they seeing what's happening today? Or are they avoiding today by hoping for something different tomorrow and doing nothing about it today? And of course, if you have the opportunity, you really want to look at the nonverbals if you can. Much easier to do in a one-on-one session, but not as easy in Zoom. So we want to wrap up the listening portion by just a little bit. I'd like you all to come off mute, and I know this may be kind of a free-for-all, but we'll go with it. I want you to tell me what you hear when I say this statement. And this could happen at work. This could happen in an ATD San Antonio chapter meeting. It could happen at a general meeting or a board meeting. It could happen in your home. We have a big problem. What did you hear?
Concern.
Fear.
Concern.
Fear.
Jessica, emergency.
Yeah, panic.
Susan said fear.
Fear.
Fight or flight.
Fight or flight. So what we have to do is we have to clarify this statement. Is it really a big problem? Oh, how big is the problem? What is the problem? Where is the problem? How did the problem happen? Because truly, it may not be as big as we think it is. And once we clarify, we're able to move from here. You know, you have the folks that you work with in an ATD chapter or board meetings, and I've heard this multiple times as a past president. I'll believe it when I see it. What did you hear?
Doubt.
Doubt, mistrust, sarcasm, they don't trust me.
Sharon, is there anything in the chat?
Bonnie caught them all.
Okay, got it.
They're popping up on my screen, sorry.
No, you're fine. Just making sure.
So when I hear, I'll believe it when I see it, my question is, you'll believe what when you see what? What does it look like? What does it refer to? What are you saying? I really am not sure. So again, we need to clarify. Another one, this isn't going to work.
What is that?
Negativity, skepticism, skeptical, doubt.
Yeah.
That may be what someone is saying, and we need to clarify what isn't going to work. Or is it that it's not going to work at all? It's not going to work in the way they want it to work? It's not going to work in this situation? Or maybe what they're saying is, this isn't going to work, but I have a better idea. but they didn't say the last part of their sentence because they're afraid of the judgment from the group. That happens a lot of times, and a good coach will catch that. Two more very quick ones. Yeah, I've heard this before.
I heard, well, here we go again.
Disappointment. What have you heard?
Great, Susan. What have they heard? What is it? And how does it happen?
Frustration and denial and more skepticism.
Yep. So we have to clarify, what have they heard? Where did you hear it before? What happened when you heard it before? Could what happened before be used this time different? And here's one that happens at work and happens in your house if you have children. Why can't you just finish it on time?
Susan says, indeed, why? Is the deadline appropriate?
Great question.
What's the challenge in being able to finish?
Now some of you are providing wonderful clarifying questions that are going to move the person forward. The one thing I want to point out here is most of these responses are negative, and your job as a coach is to turn their statements with positive questions, because only when you use a positive approach, and this is verified by research from a group that I'm part of. I'm a part of the Neuro Business Coaching from Harvard University and Neuro Leadership Institute. Only when you can move someone into a positive thinking space can they move forward. So if you see or hear these things, you really have to then start clarifying, trying to move them into the positive direction. And once you do that while you're listening, Joni, how do they use their language to really get them there?
All right. Sorry, I got click happy here. And in clicking my mute, I stopped sharing. So it's really important to think about the language that you're using. All right. And so what Bonnie was just talking about was listening, and we want to listen for clues and listen for language for them to respond and say, well, what I heard, or the way I see it, or the way I feel, or my experience was, all right. And then providing data without interpretation. Okay, this is really difficult to do because in the absence of data or content, our brain still wants a story. All right, so whenever they share something and we don't have all of the information, our brains are wired to immediately go with creating what the story is. All right, so whenever they provide information, we need to make sure that we clarify before we actually make an interpretation. Allow silence for thinking and reflection, which we've already talked about, asking open-ended questions and providing feedback through paraphrasing and clarifying. So what I heard you say was X. Is that accurate? Did I get that right? Is that what happened? Was that the experience? And then refer to the experience or previous situations that they may have encountered or that you may have encountered. And phrase your questions as positive presuppositions, all right? We're also just naturally wired to go to the negative part of things, right? So making sure that you're phrasing your questions in a positive way. And a real key thing in coaching is to be flexible, because, you know, as we enter into coaching relationships, and I know some of you shared that you're coaching for career development or for management development, maybe where there is a performance situation. All right, so we never know what we're going to get when we are coaching. So it's really important to be flexible. So don't always have a solution in mind. Remember, it's important for us to be a guidepost to help them arrive at that solution rather than provide it to them. To go with the flow, to be ready to go in different directions based on, you know, sometimes with my coaching clients, you know, I think I know how it's going to go. And then all of a sudden, you know, we were working on this and now we're kind of going backwards maybe a few steps and capturing something that we needed to work on in order to get where we were and to get beyond that. And know that people think differently. All right. Variety is the spice of life. And just because I feel or think or would choose to have a solution in this direction doesn't mean that it's the best solution for that person. And know that what the individual asks for may not actually be what they really want. All right, it is that filter that they have in place of, well, I really want to say this, but that's not going to leave me looking in a positive light with my coach or about my company or about my boss or about my career and my performance situations. And then always sum up where you are headed and what will happen next. All right, so we've covered this, and you know, next we're going to focus on this area. Does that make sense for you? Is that sound like a good plan? Because you have to let the coachee guide things, all right, and you be that support. And most importantly is to have fun while doing it. There can be definitely some really emotional times and experiences through coaching as you're supporting someone. But when you get to the other side, you can actually find the joy in things as well. All right, so we want to do a little scenario with you here, if you'll play along with us. So I'm going to ask you, I'm going to read this, and then I'm going to ask you to raise your hand, all right, and share with us what questions you have, okay? So you have a team meeting, or excuse me, you have a team that seems to be putting the fun in dysfunction and not really seeing eye to eye on a key upcoming project milestone. Productivity by all on the team has and is impacted by this conflict. The project manager of the team has requested a meeting with you to get some guidance for conflict resolution and how to get productivity back on track. So if you'll raise your hand, I'm curious, as you heard me read that, as you read it yourself, what questions do you have based on this scenario? Anybody willing to share?
Not seeing any hands yet. Who's going to be first?
I'm
okay,
seeing
there's
some.
one in chat.
Okay.
What would productivity look like?
Okay. So what would productivity look like? You're saying it's been impacted. So what does productivity look like? All right.
And then Jessica says, how do each of you think the project is going right now?
All right. So actually hearing it from the horse's mouth, how do you think it's going? And multiple horses, I should say. If you're going to meet with the project manager, but there's a team, right, that's all in this. What else?
How is this problem, in quotation marks, perfect?
Okay.
And then what are people saying about the project? What is going well?
Okay. What are people saying and what's going well?
What behaviors are you seeing that has you say the team is dysfunctional?
Okay. So there's some content here, right, that has been presented. And now we're asking some of those clarifying questions to get to the context of, okay, where has this situation or this predicament actually came from? You know, what behaviors are you seeing? What are other people saying about what's happening? What does productivity look like? How is this predicament that we found ourselves in actually perfect? Perhaps it's a learning opportunity. What is going well? You're coming to me, you know, with what's not happening. So what is actually going well? All right, anything else?
Yeah, Kim says, are there specific people that are having problems?
Okay.
And then Susan added, what's the leadership opportunity for you here?
Okay. All right. Great questions.
Joni, I want to talk to the people individually and ask them, what is their commitment to this project?
That's an interesting one. Yeah, there have been some brought up about talking to more than just the project manager, right? But you know, what does success look like for you and for you? And you know, is this something that you even like doing? Or, you know, a lot of times with projects, right? We do not have the opportunity to hand pick who we want to be on the team, nor do if we are selected to be on the team, we don't necessarily get an option to say what we want to do, maybe because we're not asked. And we're told that you have to do this or do that. And it's like, you know what, that is not my strength at all. It's not that I can do it or can't do it. I just don't enjoy it. And so, you know, therefore, I'm going to be all kinds of frustrated about this project. And my productivity is certainly not going to be there. Those are all circumstances that could happen, but we would need to ask these questions to get more information, right? So here
Joni,
is a, yeah, go ahead.
Question for the scenario. And that is, the other question I have for the scenario is, what do you mean by fun?
Yeah. Exactly. Like, is this bad or is this a good thing? I don't understand what you mean by that. And maybe that's a cliche phrase that this person is accustomed to using, but culturally, I don't get it. I don't understand what that means. So you're saying fun? Like, I don't know. What does that mean? Good point, Bonnie. So here are some coaching questions to try, some of which were shared. So what makes you feel that way? Why do you think that happened? How could you do it differently? What's on your mind? What's the real issue or challenge here? What do you want? What does it look like? And what else? Tell me more. And what else could you do then? So this is a really good progression of the what else is a really good progression to ask. All right, when somebody shares something, and and what else were you hearing? Okay, and what else could you do? And anything else? You know, and then what will you try? So the team is putting the fun in dysfunction. They're not getting along. Productivity is impacted. There's a lot of conflict. So, you know, what have you tried? And of our conversation today, you know, some conclusions we came to, some solutions. What of those will you commit to trying? Remember the importance of having that commitment. All right, Bonnie, back to you.
Well, with next steps, we go back to, some of you said your experience as a coach was never. A couple of you said seldom, 3 of you said occasionally, and 4 of you do it often. No matter what level you are at, you need to consider these next steps. Plan how you will coach for different situations. While we don't plan the actual conversation, you can plan the environment. Is it going to be virtual? Is it going to be face-to-face? Is it going to be for 30 minutes? Is it going to be for an hour? Am I going to start out with just a get to know you session? What works for the other person? So how will situations that you are going to come upon as you do things? Secondly, practice on your family and friends by listening and asking questions. I've been coaching now for 20 years. I've been certified in coaching for more than 20 years. I practice every day because every day I have to fight to remove my own bias. I have to fight to remove my experience. I have to fight to remove all of my expertise because I am not the person being coached. I am doing the coaching. So I have to really work on contextual listening and crafting excellent questions. And so that's something that even the coach at the highest level will tell you that they practice listening and asking. And when you do it, reflect on your thinking process and biases. Think about after a coaching session, were you non-judgmental? Did you let some of your biases slide in there? Did you do things? And here, when you think and reflect on your biases and your various issues that you bring to a coaching session, remember, 60% was listening. 30 to 35% is asking, and 5 to 10% is clarifying, paraphrasing, or feedback. But best of all, be ready for and celebrate your success. And remember, there is not a perfect way to coach. Joni and I and several of you on this call or on this session, I'm sure, have been trained in coaching. You've been to a coaching school or a coaching program, and you've been out there doing this. But we can all sit back and say, well, that coaching session sure didn't go the way I wanted it to. I once had a coaching client tell me she never wanted me to coach her again. That was pretty tough for me until I went back and realized that I was pushing too hard. In trying to get her to move in 6 coaching sessions, I pushed too hard. And so when I reflected on what I did, I was able to go back, make my amends, and send her to a coach who had a different approach for what she was needing. And she called me back and sent me flowers because she was so thankful that she had the right coach for where she was at that moment. We've stayed connected. We've become friends. But we have to be aware there's not a perfect way to coach, and we are not the perfect coach for everyone. I think there's some ideas on how to coach and where to get more ideas, Joni.
Yes, that is a very, very good point. And there is no one size fits all coach approach. And one of the first things that I say when someone reaches out to me for coaching is absolutely, I'd be willing to help and support, provided that it is a good fit for both of us. All right. So here are some additional resources for you. And if you would like, you can take a screenshot of this. I know the recording is going to be available to you as well. So here are different coaching books from various different resources that we consulted and used to put the presentation together. And additionally, Bonnie mentioned the International Coaches Federation, and then I mentioned the Association for Talent Development, which you're at the ATD conference. And so there are a lot of great resources there. And here are some additional resources, books, and things that you can consult as you are evolving your coaching practice. So with that, Bonnie?
So in order for people to really make a move, they have to realize some of our favorite sayings. Until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life and you will call it fate. Until we can help them bring those ideas from the unconscious to the conscious with coaching, they don't move. People will say, well, I don't have any other ideas. I don't know anything else. To know yourself, you must first sacrifice the illusion that you already do. Everybody has more ideas. Everybody has lots and lots of things that they can share with the world. We just often don't take the time to stop, to think, to reflect, and to help each other by asking questions. We're too busy, we're in a hurry, and we want to tell them what the answer is. The curious paradox is that when I accept myself as I am, then I can change. We are in a world now that's changing each and every day. We have to be able to say, look, here's where I am and I'm stuck and I need a coach's help to move forward. And with every choice you create the life you live. With every decision you design it. So I hope as you coach, you make the choices that you need to make to help the person you're coaching move forward. Joni talked about coaching being a conveyance. It's like putting them on that conveyor belt at one end of the line and letting them ride to the other with you running along beside them, asking questions, smiling at them in silence, giving them a thumbs up, and making sure that they're doing something with it. Just remember that the best idea will become the worst idea unless you take action to make the best idea happen. Joni?
So here is Bonnie and I's contact information. You're welcome to take a screenshot of that. If we can be a resource to you, be support to you, provide coaching to coaches. I know that I myself have benefited from other people who are coaches, and Bonnie and I coach each other. Bonnie's been a long-time mentor of mine in this space, so let us know how we can help you. But one of the last things that we wanted to do is if you'll grab your smartphone, you can also use your browser. It will just open up in another window outside of Zoom. Sharon is going to post a link in chat to a program called Mentimeter. And so this works like a polling software. And what we would like for you to do is, in one word, what is something that you learned today? All right, and you can respond up to 2 times. So I'm going to switch over to that platform. So you'll go to menti.com, and then once you're there, you will enter in this code 8498879, and then you'll have the opportunity to respond. So what did you learn today? Summarize by using one word, and you can respond up to 2 times.
And not only do we want to know what you learned, but what we'd really like to know is what will you use that you got today?
Yeah. All right. Past, present, future, and whole body listening. Asking questions and clarifying. Listening. Asking.
Again, the link is in chat if you need assistance.
All right. Risk and chances. Yeah, taking chances. Organizing.
Silence is golden.
Yes. That indeed it is. Contextual.
In the meantime, while people are
Non-judgmental.
answering, Joni, we have a question in chat.
Okay.
I'm an internal coach with a team of 3, and our manager doesn't believe we need to get a coaching certification since we have taken Blanchard Coaching Essentials. What are some benefits of becoming certified?
Bonnie, you want to take that?
I think that depending upon the program, let me say that, there are lots and lots and lots of coaching programs out there. But depending upon the program, the depth of study that you get with listening and understanding the emotional aspect of coaching, understanding truly how to move someone in their thinking. What we shared with you today was very, very basic. And so when you go through a coaching certification, you not only work on yourself and your biases and your judgments and your ability to facilitate language, but you also learn a lot about how people think, how to help people move forward, about how to handle. You also learn in some programs how to deal with the emotional intelligence aspect of coaching. So, you know, a number of people will tell you they're a coach. I have a friend who decided she was going to become a coach. She made herself some business cards and she says she's a coach. And she goes out there and she sells herself as a coach and she asks questions and she's a nice person and people are helped by her. And that's great. I'm glad that she's successful. My difficulty with that is she helping them to the ability and to the depth that she could if she had more knowledge around what coaching and thinking truly is? And so that's my take on it.
And Susan added, the newest ICF competency of coaching mindset speaks to ongoing professional development.
Absolutely.
Well, thanks everybody for being with us today. I know that we are right on time, actually. So if you have another session after this that you're planning to attend, I want to give you an opportunity to transition. But thanks everybody for being with us today. Have a great rest of your conference and a great weekend.
Thanks
Please
for being
reach
with
out
us.
to us if we can help you in any way at all. We'd love to talk to you as well.
Okay. Thanks for sharing with us today.
You're
Bye.
welcome.
Have a great weekend. Bye.